Hey guys, so welcome to the Django series. In this series, we'll just be covering the Django framework. Well, we won't really go in depth with it because I don't really want to use Django a lot on the channel. But we'll look at how to set up a basic project and how all of that works. But in this particular video, the first video, we're just going to look at how to install Django and then how to create our first project. And we'll look at the file structure inside that project. So in my documents folder here, I just created a folder called Django, and this is where we'll store all of the Django projects that we create. So in here, I'm going to right click and open in terminal. And so if it's your first time doing this, you need to firstly have Python installed, which I already have a tutorial for that on my channel. And then you want to install Django. So for this, you use Python's own package manager, which is pip, and then you say install and Django, Django, and hit enter here, and it will install it. Now I already have it installed, so it might just skipped over everything. If there was an update, it might have updated it when I ran that. But yeah, to create our first Django project, I'm going to clear this and I'm going to type Django, and I'll just press tab to autocomplete this. So the command is Django-admin. And then we want to do start project as one word. And then we give our project a name. So I'm just going to call this YouTube. And okay, we can hit enter here. And it won't give you any output here, but if we look into the folder now, it created a folder called YouTube. And I'm just going to close the terminal and open that folder. And notice here that there's another folder called YouTube inside this folder. So it created a main folder called YouTube, and then another folder inside of it also called YouTube. And it has a script here called manage.py. So I'm firstly going to open this up in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to click open in terminal here. And I'm going to do code and a dot. And okay, so let's click this manager script and open it. There's not really much we can look at in here, but basically what the script does is it's the manager for anything we build in here. So if we want to, for example, start the project, we start it through this manage script here. And yeah, we'll come back to that when we actually run the server. But up here we have a folder called YouTube. So the way Django lays out its project, it has apps inside of it. And this YouTube is the default app that it created for us. And it's the one that will run by default. And if we open the folder here, we can see that it has a few things inside of it. It has asgi.py. I'm not sure what this is. It's config for the project. And then we have a settings.py here, which is basically the settings and your secret keys and all of that stuff for your project. It also has your middleware here. So if you needed to install custom middleware, this is where you would do it. And up here you notice that it says installed apps. So we're going to come back to this in a future video, or actually later on in this video, because I'm going to show you how to create your own app now. So this is where all of the apps that get run when we run the server need to be. And I know that's a little bit confusing to understand right now, but just know that the settings.py is where all of the settings for our main project live. And then we have urls.py here, and this basically has the special variable in it called URL patterns, and here it just has a list of all the paths that we can go to. So let's say our website or this API was running on codewithme.co.za. This admin path here means that when we go to codewithme.co.za/admin, this is the function it's going to run. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. And then we have, well, there's nothing else really to look at in this folder. Now I'm going to show you how to create your own app folder with all of those files inside of it. And as I mentioned before, we need to use this manage script when we're doing anything inside the project here. So I'm going to head back to the terminal here, and I'm going to say Python because we're running a Python file. and we want to run the manage file. And this takes another parameter here, which is start app. And the start app command here will tell it to create a new app inside this folder. So I'm just going to call this name. Actually, I won't use a capital letter there. We'll just call it name. And okay, if we head back into our folders here, we can see that now there's a new folder called name here. And if I click that little drop down there, we can see that we have similar files in here as the main project. We have views here, which a view is when you go to a website, what does that URL return to you? And we'll speak about this more in the next lesson where we actually put some data into this. But all you need to remember is that a view is when you hit a specific URL, this view defines what to send back to the person who is viewing it. So view is what the person who's viewing it will see. Then we have tests here. If you wanted to test that your API is working properly, you can write some tests in here, and then it will run through those tests to make sure that everything works as you expect it to work. Next we have models here, model.py. This is an important file. It what creates the table in your database. So by default, Django uses a SQLite database, and in here we can create a model for that database to use. So I'm just going to explain quickly how to create a model here, and you can just skip over this part of the video because I'm going to explain it again in the next video. So to create a table in our database, we create a model here using class, and then the name of our model, which we're going to call it name here. And we need to use our brackets here. And in our brackets, we give a template to use for this class. And there's already one in Django called models.model. So we're inheriting from this model class here. And that basically means our class will be the same as this class, plus whatever we add into it here. And what we're going to add into it is what fields our table will have. So I'm going to create a field called, let's say, first name, for example, first underscore name. And we set this equal to models dot. And inside of here, after the dot, we can see all the different fields that we can use. So the one we're going to use is char field, which is basically string. We want our table to store a string in it. So I'm going to select char field there. And this takes one parameter, which is max length. So I'm going to select max length here. And I'm going to set it equal to something like 200 here. And let's also do the same for last name. It's also going to be of type models.char field, and it will have a max length of 200 as well. Okay, so this is what our table will look like. It will have two columns, first name and last name, and they'll both be string fields, so they'll store text in them, and it will have a max length of 200. And this is how the table will appear inside of our database. So on the next line here, I'm going to say, actually inside of this class, we need to do one more thing. We need to do def underscore underscore str underscore underscore. And what this basically is it's a function that tells Django what the main field in our table is. So for us, the main field here is going to be first name. So I'm going to put self here. We always need to do this when we're working with classes. When you create a function inside of a class, you need to pass self as a parameter here. It's just a default feature of Python. And inside of the function here, I'm going to do return first name. Actually, we need to use self.firstname. So how this self works is we're basically speaking about the class itself, and here we're returning self.firstname. So in other words, the first name variable that's inside of this class, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to save this, and to actually create this table in our database, we need to do something first. So we need to again go through this manage.py script here, and we're going to do python manage.py. and then make migrations. And notice this is one word, no caps or anything in here, and we hit enter. And it says no changes detected. So that's because here under, we need to close this name folder. Here under the YouTube folder, which is the main project that's actually going to run when we run this application, we need to go into settings. And if you remember earlier, I told you there was this installed app settings here, which tells Django which apps we want to use in this project. So we want to include the new folder we created here, name, into the project. So inside of the installed apps here, I'm going to add in a new entry here, and I'm going to say name. And okay, I can save this, and let's run that command again. So it's python manage.py and then make migrations. And now we can see that it picked up the migration, and the migration is for name here. And the migration says it's going to create a model name. So it's going to create a table for the model name. And that model name is what we created right here. It's called name. And okay, so after this we need to do python manage.py. Remember, everything needs to run through manage.py. And we type migrate here. And if everything goes well, it should have created all of the tables that we need inside of our database. Now I'm going to open that database up and look inside of it, and we can see that here there's a entry inside of our database, a table called name here. It's name underscore name. So the reason why it says name underscore name here is because our main app here is called name, and the model inside of it is also called name. So that's why it says name underscore name here. And we can see here in the columns, it has ID, which is the primary key for this table. You don't really need to worry about that. But then it has first name here and last name, which is what we defined here when we created the model. And yeah, if you're wondering how I opened up this SQLite database to look inside of it, I just installed an extension here. Where is it? It's called SQLite. Yeah, it's called SQLite Viewer. So just select extensions here and search for that and install it. And then you'll just be able to open up databases and look inside of them. So yeah, this is basically all I'm going to show you for this video. And in the next video, we'll create a view to use this data structure here and return something to the viewer. And we'll also look at how to use the URL files, which it doesn't create by default here. We need to create that ourselves. So yeah, make sure you tune into the next video. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next video.